Let's get right into it. Number 10. The Mummy's Curse. Picture this. You're an explorer in the 1920s, strutting around Egypt in a pith helmet, sweating buckets in 120-degree heat, and, because apparently sunscreen hadn't been invented yet, slowly crisping into human jerky. Suddenly, you stumble into a dusty tomb that hasn't seen daylight in 3,000 years. Jackpot. Except, people start whispering that anyone who disturbs the tomb of a pharaoh will be struck down by a mummy's curse. And then, coincidentally, people do start dying. Lord Carnarvon, the rich guy who funded the Tutankhamun dig, died not long after opening the tomb. Blood poisoning from a mosquito bite. That was enough for newspapers to go, "Yup, cursed, definitely cursed, put it on page 1. What they didn't include? Thousands of other people who were also in that tomb, and lived boringly long lives. Science eventually swooped in and killed the drama. Many ancient tombs contained mold spores and bacteria sealed for millennia. Crack one open, breathe deep, and congratulations, you've basically inhaled ancient bioterror. Add in the fact that everyone was puffing on unfiltered cigarettes back then, and, well, no wonder lungs were collapsing like wet cardboard boxes. So yeah, turns out the curse of the mummy wasn't supernatural wrath, it was just ancient fungi turning your lungs into a haunted house. Basically, the pharaoh didn't kill you, his basement mold did. Number 9. The Antikythera mechanism. Imagine pulling a rusted clump of bronze out of the ocean, assuming it's just soggy ship junk, and then, plot twist, it's actually the world's first analog computer. That's the Antikythera mechanism. Discovered in 1901 by sponge divers who were probably just hoping for free seashells. This thing looks like your grandpa's alarm clock got into a fight with a coral reef, but once scientists actually x-rayed it, they realized it wasn't random gears. It was a highly advanced astronomical calculator from around 100 BCE. It could predict eclipses, track planetary movements, and even map out the cycles of the ancient Olympics. Here's the kicker. Nothing that complex would appear again for over 1,000 years. It's like finding an iPhone in a medieval dungeon. Ancient Greeks basically built a smartwatch, and then the blueprints got lost because, Rome happened. Psychologically, this shakes our cozy timeline. We love the narrative that technology moves forward in a neat little line. Stone, bronze, iron, industrial revolution, Netflix. Nope, turns out ancient people were running mental laps around us in ways we still barely understand. The Antikythera mechanism is proof that human brains have always been the same squishy 3-pound chaos machines, they just had different toys to play with. So yeah, next time your computer crashes, remember, some dude in a toga made a better calendar app 2,000 years ago. Number 8. The Nazca lines. You're standing in the middle of the Peruvian desert. It's dry, flat, and absolutely uneventful, until you get in a plane. Suddenly, staring up at you from the ground are giant geoglyphs, monkeys, hummingbirds, spiders, even what looks suspiciously like an astronaut doodle. They stretch for miles, drawn into the earth by scraping away the top layer of dark rocks to reveal lighter soil beneath. For decades, everyone thought, this has to be aliens. I mean, who else has the aerial view to design a 1,000-foot-long bird in the dirt? Enter archaeologists with magnifying glasses and no chill. They realized the Nazca people, 200 BCE, 600 CE, had a genius system. They built the lines using basic surveying tools, ropes, stakes, and geometry. Essentially, they turned the desert into an enormous etch-a-sketch. And the purpose? Not alien runways, not desert doodles out of boredom. Evidence suggests the lines were ritual offerings to gods, particularly rain deities, kind of like giant cosmic prayers carved into the landscape. You couldn't see the whole figure from the ground, but you could walk the lines in ceremonial processions. It was less about looking at them, more about being inside them. So yeah, no flying saucers, just ancient humans doing large-scale performance art to beg the sky for water. Honestly, if you lived in a desert with zero Wi-Fi, you'd probably start carving bird murals too. Number 7. The Library of Ashes. Everyone cries over the Library of Alexandria like it was the great intellectual iCloud backup of the ancient world that got deleted in one click. But here's the twist. Another ancient library actually survived, kind of. In Herculaneum, when Mount Vesuvius threw its volcanic tantrum in 79 CE, a private villa stuffed with scrolls got flash-baked under 1,000-degree pyroclastic fluff. The result? The Villa of the Papyri. Hundreds of scrolls, carbonized into what basically looked like overcooked Hot Pockets. For centuries, people tried to unroll them, only to end up with confetti. Enter 21st century science with X-ray phase contrast tomography. That's a fancy way of saying, we're going to laser peek inside these crispy burritos without touching them. Turns out the scrolls contained philosophical works from Epicureans, and possibly still hidden Greek texts that no one's read in 2 millennia. The fact that we can now virtually unroll them is like getting a surprise email from the year 79. Psychologically, there's something wild about this, the idea that human thoughts can survive longer than human bodies, frozen in carbon. Your brain might be dust, but your spicy essay about pleasure being the highest good? Immortal. That's like beating death with a particularly stubborn Word document. So yes, Alexandria burned, but Herculaneum accidentally made the world's first fireproof library. Take that, volcano. Number 6. The Voynich Manuscript. Now picture this. You find a book filled with plants that don't exist, written in a language nobody can read, decorated with naked women doing synchronized swimming in bathtubs. Congratulations, you've just opened the Voynich Manuscript. Discovered in 1912, it's basically the Beyoncé of mysterious books, famous, confusing, and constantly analyzed under a microscope. The script doesn't match any known alphabet, the plants don't match real botany, and the astrology diagrams look like they were drawn by a drunk medieval horoscope writer. For decades, people thought it was either alien knowledge, coded alchemy, or an elaborate prank by a bored monk with way too much ink. But recently, linguistic and computational analysis suggests it is a real language system, possibly a shorthand or cipher for a lost dialect. Combine that with the fact that some of the plants might be stylized medicinal herbs, and suddenly the book looks less like sci-fi fanfiction and more like a pharmaceutical catalog for the 15th century. Psychologically, this hits our fear of missing out on knowledge. Humans hate not knowing things, especially when the answers are right there, taunting us in doodle form. It's like trying to read your doctor's handwriting, except instead of getting antibiotics, you get centuries of academic fistfights. So yeah, the Voynich Manuscript is less likely an alien cookbook and more like the medieval CVS receipts of herbal medicine. Number 5. The Baghdad Battery. Okay, here's one for the tinfoil hat crowd. In the 1930s, archaeologists near Baghdad found ceramic jars containing a copper cylinder and an iron rod. If you fill it with an acidic liquid, like vinegar, it actually produces a tiny electric current. Cue the dramatic music. Did ancient Mesopotamians invent batteries? Some believe they used them for electroplating gold onto silver objects. Others argue it was just a storage jar that coincidentally zapped people when lemon juice spilled in. Either way, it forces us to admit that humans were probably tinkering with electricity way before Benjamin Franklin flew his suicidal kite stunt. The psychology here is simple. Humans are compulsive pokers. You see a metal rod in liquid, you touch it. Zap. Congratulations, you've discovered science. That instinct to mess around and accidentally invent things is literally why we have microwaves, penicillin, and half of TikTok trends. So yeah, maybe it wasn't powering light bulbs in 200 BCE, but it was proof that ancient curiosity could still fry your fingers. Basically, the Baghdad battery was history's first sketchy phone charger. Number 4. The Rosetta Stone. Imagine trying to solve a crossword puzzle where none of the clues are in your language, and every box is just hieroglyphs. That was the situation for centuries with ancient Egyptian writing. People stared at pyramids and tomb walls like they were the world's fanciest IKEA instructions, with zero idea what the pictures meant. Then in 1799, French soldiers digging around Rosetta, a town in Egypt, not the pasta sauce, stumbled on a slab of stone that would change everything. The Rosetta Stone contained the same text written in 3 scripts: Greek, Demotic, and hieroglyphs. Essentially, it was the ancient world's Google Translate carved in granite. Jean-François Champollion, a French linguist with an absurd amount of free time and coffee, finally cracked the code in 1822. He realized the hieroglyphs weren't just pretty pictures of birds and eyeballs, they were phonetic, representing sounds. Suddenly, thousands of years of Egyptian texts stopped being gibberish and started spilling their secrets. Psychologically, this is huge. Humans love solving codes because it feels like stealing secrets from the universe. The Rosetta Stone wasn't just an artifact, it was like finding the password to an ancient hard drive. And once we had it, the floodgates opened. History, religion, shopping lists, even love letters carved in hieroglyphs all came tumbling out. So yeah, one rock in a ditch basically unlocked the entire ancient Egyptian civilization. Forget Indiana Jones. The real hero here was a bilingual cheat sheet. Number 3. Linear B cracked. Let's rewind to the Mycenaeans, the Bronze Age Greeks, who were basically the pilot episode for classical Greece. They left behind a mysterious script known as Linear B, discovered on clay tablets baked in ancient fires. For decades, scholars squinted at it, shrugged, and said, "Cool doodles, bro." Fast forward to 1952, an architect named Michael Ventris, who casually treated ancient scripts like Sudoku puzzles, cracked it wide open. He realized Linear B was an early form of Greek, not some alien language. Suddenly, the tablets weren't mysterious squiggles, they were bureaucratic records, grain counts, livestock tallies, taxation lists. Basically, the most anticlimactic discovery ever. The Mycenaeans invented paperwork. Psychologically, though, that's the point. Civilizations don't run on heroes and epics, they run on receipts. The Odyssey might be fun to read, but the real glue of society is some scribe noting, "Farmer Nikos owes 3 goats." The discovery was a sobering reminder that humans, no matter how ancient, were just as obsessed with admin work as we are. So yeah, Linear B didn't reveal lost magic or treasure maps, it revealed accountants, which, if you think about it, might be the most terrifying ancient curse of all. Number 2. Göbekli Tepe's secrets. Imagine stumbling upon a massive Stone Age temple buried under a hill, decorated with giant carved animals, built thousands of years before Stonehenge. That's Göbekli Tepe in Turkey. It's like the ancient world looked at our idea of history and said, haha, wrong timeline, try again. Discovered in the 1990s, the site is about 11,000 years old, so old it predates farming. That's right, people were hauling 20-ton stone pillars into place before they figured out how to domesticate wheat. Priorities, apparently. For archaeologists, this was like finding an iPhone in a caveman's cave. It flipped the script. Maybe religion and ritual came before farming, not after. Maybe humans gathered into communities not because they needed bread, but because they needed shared ceremonies, and probably gossip. Psychologically, this tracks. Humans are social animals first, farmers second. We'll starve, but at least we'll starve together while chanting around a carved vulture statue. Göbekli Tepe shows that meaning and myth came before convenience, that people will literally build a cathedral before they build a kitchen. So yeah, turns out civilization wasn't born in a field of barley, it was born at history's oldest stone party. Number 1. The Dead Sea Scrolls. These fragile little scrolls turned out to be the most important biblical manuscripts ever found. Imagine accidentally unlocking a treasure chest of religious history while just trying to scare your goats. The scrolls date from around the 3rd century BCE to the 1st century CE, and they contain fragments of nearly every book of the Hebrew Bible, plus a bunch of other texts, apocalyptic visions, community rules, even ancient fan fiction about angels. For centuries, scholars only had much later versions of these texts, copied and recopied across millennia. Suddenly, the Dead Sea Scrolls gave us receipts, literal ancient receipts that showed what people were reading, praying, and arguing about 2,000 years ago. Here's the psychological kicker. People love certainty, but history rarely gives us that. The scrolls prove two things at once. First, that many biblical texts were preserved almost exactly over centuries. Hello, continuity. But also, there were surprising variations, edits, and wild side stories that didn't make the final cut. It's like finding deleted scenes for the Bible, and realizing the director's cut was way messier than the theatrical release. And then there's the drama. For decades after discovery, scholars hoarded access to the scrolls like they were the One Ring, which fueled conspiracy theories about hidden secrets. Aliens, codes, lost gospels? Nope, just very slow, very territorial academics. The truth is fascinating enough. These scrolls bridge the gap between ancient Judaism and early Christianity, showing us how religious thought evolved in real time.